Hey guys, what's going on? In this video, we'll be learning about textual data, and in programming domain, we call textual data as strings. Now, if you can see here in the first line, I have written textual data with the hashtag at the beginning. Now, this is what we call comment, and comments won't be executed by the program. In the second line, I have written a print function, and if you recall correctly, print function is used to print the value to the output terminal, as the output terminal is shown below. And inside the print function, I have passed hello world with a single quote. Now, at this point, let me tell you that strings in Python are represented by single quotes or double quotes. Now I could have also written double quote, and inside it could have also written hello world, but we will get to that very soon. If I try to run this, you would see that hello world will be outputted. Now at this point, let me tell you that if you hear any noise in the background, I apologize for that, because there are certain elements that I can't control. You can hear some birds chirping or vehicles moving. I really apologize for that. And I would request you to please cooperate with me. All right, now back to the topic. Now, instead of writing hello world, I think it's nice time to learn more about variables. Now, in Python, we can directly initialize a variable by typing a variable name. In this case, I'll be typing message and passing the value to be assigned. I will assign hello world as the value. Now, as you can see here, I have used double quotes. Now, if you recall earlier, I told you that you can either use double quote or single quote to represent a string. Now, instead of directly writing print hello world here, I can pass the variable like this. Now, if you try to run, you will get the same output. Now, if you're coming from other programming languages like C, C++, Java, you might have noticed that you should have mentioned a format specifier, like is it the integer or string, like that. But in Python, we don't have anything like that. We directly give a variable name like message and pass the value to be assigned. In this case, I pass string value. Now, in other programming languages, we terminate a statement like this, message is called hello world, or in any statement like this, or print message. We terminate them with a semicolon or things like that. But in Python, we don't necessarily use this, because Python already works on white spaces. Now this means which means that if you press enter, it will be considered as a statement. Now in this case, message is called hello world is one statement, and print is equal to print message is another statement. Now I want to tell you one thing important. Now let's write hello world in single quotes. Sorry, hello world. Now, what if I want to write something like this? Hello's world. Now, if you notice that if I put single apostrophe s, and if I try to run it, let me delete this actually. Yeah, if I try to run it, you will notice that it will give me a really good piece of error. Now I will tell you the reason why it's showing me an error. So as you can see here, if since I put one apostrophe right here, so what Python thought is that it's actually closed a single string, right? Hello, it considers hello as a string, and the rest of them is an invalid syntax. As you can see here, the s world, it doesn't make really much of a sense. Now that's why it gave me an error. Now there are a couple of ways you can walk around it. One way is to use double quotes instead of a single quote, which would work really fine. And if I run it, you can see hello's world is printed. Now another way is that if you really want to use single quotes, you can work your way around it by using something called an escape sequence. So suppose if you're using apostrophe here, you have to escape that apostrophe by using a backslash. Now what this actually means is that now Python would look for a closing apostrophe or a single quote, right? So first of all, it found a opening up a single quote before h, and keeps on going and finds another apostrophe of s. Now what it does is looks behind it and defines backslash sequence. So what it does is it escapes this entirely and looks for another way to enclose it. Now in this case, it would be entirely as a hello's world, and it would print as it is. Now that was all about using double quote single quote pairs. Now let's write something in multi-line. So if you want to write something in a multi-line string, you can either use 3 single quotes and enclose it, or you can use 3 double quotes or enclose it. Now let me write single quotes for better understanding. Let me write something like this is first line, and this is second. If I try to print it, it will be printed as it is. There you go. That was about a multi-line string. Now let me quickly write hello world back. At this point, let me tell you that strings are made up of characters. As you can see, each characters are h, ELLO and things like that. Now we can make use of this, and we can understand it much better. Now suppose if you want to print the length of the string, right? So I can do that by assigning a len method like this. A len method would print the length of hello that message. So our message is 11 characters long. How did it actually happen? So you can see that H1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But where's the 11? As you can see here at the middle, we have something, a space in the middle, right? So that's also included. Hence, the accumulated result is 11. Now, as I have told you that strings are actually a sequence of characters. Now you can actually access the individual characters by using a square bracket. So what you all need to do is pass the variable name, and inside square bracket you need to pass the index to be index of the character to be retrieved or accessed. In our case, this entire hello world is 11 characters long. Now in programming, we have something called zero based indexing. That means the very first character is assigned an index value of 0, and the last one is assigned an index value of length -1, which means that the first character is at index 0 and the last character is length is 11, as you know that, and length -1 is 10. So if I write message of 0 and if I print the value, you can notice that it will print me h. And if I write 10, which is length 11 -1, it will give me the last value, which is t. This is how you actually access the individual elements in a string. Now suppose what I want to do is I want to access ELLO, or you can say a particular part from a string. You can do that by something called slicing. So what I do, I pass the variable name in the square bracket. I would pass the starting index, since I need, let me write it, I need ELLO from hello world, right? So I need to pass the starting index. E is at, if you know, is starting from 0, 1, E is at 1, and the ending index, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But notice that if I write 4, it will only give me ELL. That's because Python won't include the last index. You need to actually add 1 to the last index. So if I write from 1 to 5, so it won't exclude the fifth index, which will print me ELLO. For understanding, let me print this. It will give me ELLO. Instead, if you write 1 to 4, you will notice that it will print me ELL. So a good rule of thumb is that the starting index is inclusive and the ending index is exclusive, which means that the Python will include starting index and exclude the ending index. Hope you got that. Now I'd like to show you something that you can modify your strings. So let me start with something known as lower. So what you can do is you can actually convert the entire string to a lowercase by just passing message dot lower, and you can see it will be since it's already in lowercase, so it doesn't make much of sense. And if you want to turn it to capital letters, you can pass upper method to it. And if I print the statement, you can see it's hello world in capital letters. Now suppose if you want to count any occurrence of any character or any word or any sequence, for example, let me count the occurrence of E in the hello world. The output is 1. Now if I let me go ahead and print the O's occurrences, you'll see the output is 2. Now let me pass a sequence, something like LL, right? So you can see the only place where you can find LL is right here, so it should print me 1, right? So let's see and look at the answer. Oops, LL is not defined. Why? Oh, that was something else. I'm sorry. Now let's see what happens if I write something which does not exist in the string, something like X. So if you let me clear the output. Okay, so if you see that if I run this, it would give me either -1 or 0 because it doesn't exist, right? So that's about count method. Now let me show you one more method before I close, which is known as replace method. Now how it works is that you pass the old string. For example, if I want to write hello world to something like bye world, I would pass the old string to be replaced, which is hello, and I replace with the replacing string, which is bye. If I try to run this, you can notice the output would be bye world. Now for the sake of simplicity, let's actually pass this into a new message, new variable, new message, and let's pass this. Now at this point, let me tell you that you can't actually assign a variable name with a space. It will give me an error. So you can what you can do is, if you can combine the if you want to give a variable with two names, you can combine it together with a caps letter, or you can just separate them with an underscore like this. It's these are all conventions of how to declare a variable. Now if I try to print new message, and you can see the output would be by word. Now, let me quickly delete this, and let me tell you something known as concatenation. Now, what I want to do is I want to concatenate two strings, like message is equal hello world, message 2 equals to comma earth. Now, I want to concatenate these two strings. So you can concatenate by just putting plus sign in between. And if I return the value, you'll notice that hello world is the first string and comma space earth is the second string. Now if you notice that if I don't put a space here, it will automatically get appended very close without a space to the second string. What I want to say is that if I write hello world earth without a space, you notice that it gets appended without a space here, right? So notice that I always have to put a space after. And if I put a space, and you will see it will be very neat, hello world earth. Now that was all about concatenation. Okay, now let's work with something known as format. Now let's very quickly create a name variable. Let's name it name, and let me pass a string called Pratik. Now let's quickly create a greet, which would greet the name, which would be, let's say, hello, and I can directly pass Pratik, right? So instead of that, let's make use of format, right? So I will put a placeholder like curly brackets, and after that I put dot format, and I pass the name, which is Pratik, right? Now if I print simply greet, you'll notice that the output is hello Pratik. So what happens is that in place of the placeholder, the format method actually filled the value of name. Now notice that I can also directly pass a variable like pranav, and if I print it, it will also give me the same a different output with different name. But it's a good practice to use a variable to pass values inside the placeholders. Now let's quickly look at the alternative of format, which is known as the f string. For that, let's first of all delete this format, and instead of that, we just simply write f with it. Now inside the curly brackets, we can write name, and one advantage which gives the f string gives is that we can actually modify the name variable. We can implement any of the properties that we learned earlier, like for example, if I want to capitalize the name, and if I print it, you will notice that I can apply the same effect over here. That's a little bit of advantage that gives me while using f string, and not that f string is something new that has come to Python, and most of the programmers might not know about this who start off really early with Python. So that was all about today's string. Hope you really liked this video. Now before I end this video, let me tell you that if you really enjoyed this video, you can really support us by either hitting the like button if you enjoyed it, and subscribing to our channel for more and more videos, or you can either spread the word to others who really want to learn about Python great tutorials. And so guys, that's all about the strings. All right, so guys, see you guys in the next lecture.